Okay, so let's start our today's video for this assignment of video. So we have this server.py file. Okay, so first of all, let us understand what is RTSP and what is RTP. So RTSP is basically real-time streaming protocol, and this is an application layer protocol. And RTP is real-time transmission protocol, and this is the transport layer protocol. Okay, so these two have different protocols, and we have four different methods which we will use in this setup, play, pause, and tear down, sorry. Okay, so let's see what does the server.py file contain. So server.py, in server.py we have initially the server port number, which is initially defined as 65525. Okay, and if at all this port number is not free, then we will print this message that this is an error message, and this with this on this port number we cannot able to run now. We can also take the server port number from the command line argument, that is from the user, but for the sake of now, we have given it inbuilt, this particular 65525 as the server port number. Okay, now we define RTSP socket and binding it to the server post. So for that, we will first initialize the socket with .socket function. Then we will bind that using .bind function. So RTSP socket is created initialized. Now we'll bind this to the server port with this IP address 127.0.0.1 and the server port number. And then we will listen to maximum 5. Maximum 5 plans can be connected to this particular RTSP socket. Now, this will receive client information. Okay, so this client information is, we can call it like a dictionary, which will store the information which we obtained from client. Okay, and address and port number through RTSP or TCP session. So accepting client connecting requests. Now we have client information which is containing RTSP socket, and it will accepting this. And now we will run this server. So let's say I'm running the server with, these are two windows open over here. This is left side is the server one and right side is, let's say, the client one. So on server side, I'm running the server.py file with at this port number, let's say 65525. So 65525. So the port number, this is now ready. We are not getting any error till now, so this is ready. And on the client side, let me run Python, and we have to run client launcher.py. So we will run client launcher.py with this port number 127.0.0.1 and this 65525 as our source port, and we have our RTP port defined as 49152. So this is 49152, and our file is which we want to run movie, something like this, movie.mjpg. Okay, so I'm clicking on this, the client will request you to open this file up. So this will open this GUI. The GUI is defined in this client.py file. Now on clicking on setup button, let's say you are seeing from here that from servers, from the client side, data is sent for the setup with some C sequence number and client port number. And same way on the server side, we are getting the data received number with some C sequence number and some client port number, and processing is setup. So processing setup is, we are getting four different processing methods: setup, play, pause, and something tear down. Okay, so on clicking play button, our video is getting played and our current sequence number is, let's say this you are seeing, is generating. Now on clicking on pause button, this will pause, and on tear down, this will tear down. This is the thread is broken down, process is turned down. Okay, so what actually happens on the server side? Let's say what the server does. So server basically has these four methods: setup, play, pause, and tear down. Okay, which is its own four functionalities to do. Now we have three states: init, ready, and playing. Init, ready, and playing, where init is the current state. Okay, current state. We have three methods also were defined, which is status codes method, OK 200, file not found 404, and connection error 500. Okay, so we have one client information, which is the dictionary, which stores the client information. Now what happens? This function will create thread. For each client. Okay, for each client requesting to the server, this will create a particular thread, a new thread for each client. Okay, and then we have, and this will call the receive RTSP request function. So this receive RTSP request function will connect the socket, and if we get the data, then we will get that data is received, and what data is received is decoded with this particular. Okay, and it will return process RTSP request. So it will call process RTSP request, and it will pass data with in decoded form of UTF-8 language to this process RTSP request. And now this process RTSP request will have a request line. So request line is the line up till slash n, like whatever is the data up till slash n, that is our request line. So we will split that using split method, and we will get the request line. So we'll get the request type, and request type is the line once zeroth, means first array's zeroth index, whatever is the first element. And line 1 is what? Requests zeroth index. Requests zeroth index. Okay, splitted by the backspace. And line 1's zeroth index is our request type. That is either get request, post request. Okay, whichever is the request type. Okay, HTTP request or SMTP request. Okay, request method. And we will get the file name with the help of line 1's first index, and sequence number also we will get. Now we will just check that if our request type is set up, that if we want to set up request, then we will check for the state, that if our client is in the init state, okay, then we will print that processing setup. So we have processing setup. So what we have written over here, this. Okay, after clicking on setup button, the client will send this to the server, and server will this to the processing setup. So processing setup, and then what it will do, it will do this video stream. We'll call video stream with this file name. Which file name? Which you want to run, this my video dot something. Okay, and it will update the state from init to ready. So this will change the state, and if error occurs, then it will send the file not found 404 error. Okay, now we'll generate some randomized RTSP session ID. So this random will generate any random session ID, and this will reply. So if it is successfully connected, then we will reply that OK 200 is replied with sequence 1 and client info RTP port with request 2. So RTP or UDP port line, port number we will get from the last line. So we will get the request second, which is the last line of the request line. So that is our RTP port number. So this is for the setup. Same way for the play request, if our request type is, let's say, play. So we'll check that if our current state is ready, then only we can play. Then we will print processing playing, and then we will change or update our state from this ready to playing. So we'll update our state from ready to playing, and now we will create a socket for RTP protocol, which will use the UDP protocol for video streaming. So this will initialize first socket, and this will reply to RTSP some OK 200 message will respond to this request. Now this is a new thread created for the client to send the data using this RTP protocol. You are using this RTP UDP protocol. Okay, so this will create the thread. Now we have similarly pause. So for pause, if our current state is playing, then only we can click on pause button, and we will update the state from playing to ready now. Okay, so a state is changed from playing to ready, and now we will use the dot set method. Dot set method will what do? It will stop running the thread. So the set dot client info event, this set dot client info event, this is a threading event. So we will stop running that threading event, and we will reply OK 200 message. Now if the request type is, let's say, tear down. So if our request is tear down, then we will print processing tear down. Okay, and what we will do now, we will event dot set. So event dot set is this. Again we will stop running the thread, and we will again reply the 200. And also we stop running the thread, and we will close the socket also, because this is the tear down function. For pause, we will just stop the thread running. But for tear down, we have to stop the thread from running also, and we also have to close the socket, because the socket connection is also now closed after tear down. So this will close the socket. So RTSP socket dot close will close the socket. Now we have to send RTP. So this send data from server to client using RTP protocol, and send RTP's packet over UDP. So what this does, it will wait for my, let's say, 0.05 seconds, and now stop sending if request is pause or tear down. So if is set function will check This is the Boolean function. This will check that if pause or tear down button is clicked or not. If it is clicked, that is set, and we will break. Otherwise, what we will do, that we will get the data using video stream class. So we'll create the frame. So data is this dot next frame, which is the next frame I'm getting. So that is the frame wise, because we are getting the data in frames. So this data is dot next frame. So if we get the data, then frame number is equal to our self.client.info this video stream dot frame number, whichever is the one next frame number. So now what we will do, this address will be the address, port number will be the port number, and this will send to this make RTP. Now what will make RTP do? Make RTP will take the payload, that is the data, and the frame number, which is the next frame number, after which we have to attach the data. So these are some initialization of variables which I have to do. So after initializing this variables, we will create RTP packet, will encode it, and this dot get packet will get us the packet, whole packet. Okay, and reply to RTSP, these are the three methods which we have defined above, that if it is self OK 200, then our reply is in this format, and we will encode it and send it. Similarly, if it is file not found, then we will print 404 not found. Rather than sending message to client, now we are just printing it. Okay, for 200 only we are connecting the socket, and because connection is set for the 200 only, not for 404 or 500. Okay, so for 404 and 500 we are just printing the error messages like 404 not found and 500 connection error. Okay, now let's move to client launcher side. So on client launcher side, we have these four requirements, which we can also get from the command line, but here we have taken it inbuilt, like server address, which is the IP address, which we have taken directly as 127.0.0.1. Then server port, which we have already defined in server.py, and this is 65525. And then we have RTP port number, which we have given it by ourselves, and then file name which we want to run. This is movie.mjpg. Now, if we get this all four correctly, then okay. If not, then this will print this error message in accept. Now, this TK is the Tinker function, Tinker library in Python, which will make use of the GUI, which we have created for this. This is the GUI. Let's say that whole box with four different buttons is our GUI, which we want to display. So that work will be done by the TK library. So this client, this will create a new client class, and on running that, app is equal to client, with this four methods we will pass with these four variables: server address, server port number, RTP port number, and file name. Okay, now let's say what will the client do. So client will initialize this all different methods. So this create widget and setup movie and exit client, this all things is like create widget, and create widget is like GUI. For creating the GUI, we have to create that GUI with four buttons. So for that we will run the command create widget, not of that much importance. We have work of setup movie. So setup movie is called when we click on setup button. So when setup button is clicked, then it will check that if our current state is in it, then this will send RTSP request as self.setup. So send RTSP request for setup. For exit client, tear down button handler, exit client is, so if our if we click on tear down button, then this will send the RTSP request to tear down, and it will close the GUI window. For closing the GUI window, we'll call the destroy function and remove the cache image from video. Similarly, for pause movie, pause button handler, if our current state is, let's say, playing, then we will send the RTSP request to pause. And for play movie, if our current state is ready, if ready, then we will create a new thread to listen for data which will be coming from server to client. Okay, so that will listen the data, and then we are sending the self.play. So what does listen do? So listen will take the data from the server to the client. Whatever we are receiving from the server, that we are listening at the client using listen RTP function. So this will take the data which we are getting from server using this RTP socket.receive method. Now if we get some data, then we will create RTP packet. So RTP packet is initialized, and we will decode that data and store into our RTP packet. Okay, we will take the current frame number as the sequence number of that RTP, because the current sequence number is only our current frame number. And we will check that if packet arrived is late, that is if self frame number is greater than the is lesser than the current frame number, then we will discard the late packets. Okay, so if current frame number is greater than our self frame number, then we will discard the packets, otherwise discard the late packets. So we will update movie and we will update our frame number to this current frame number, and we will update our movie. So whatever is our next now frame number which we are getting, then we will directly jump to that. Otherwise, we will, let's say if you have clicked on pause or tear down button, so if set method is called, and if it is true, then we will break. Otherwise, we will close the RTP packet upon receiving acknowledge for tear down. So we will close the RTP packet by giving the received acknowledged as 1, and we will then call the shutdown method, close method, and then we will break. Okay, so this is one another method is send RTSP request. Now the above one is what we have listened from the server to the client. Now also client has to send something to the server. So send RTSP request to the server. So this is setup request. That is if request is of setup type and our client is initially in init state, then some thread is created for receiving that RTSP request from server to client. And we will update our sequence number to 1. Okay. And on client side, we'll write, on server side, we will pass the messages setup, C sequence number, transport, and client port number. Okay. If it is play and our initial state is ready, then our RTSP sequence number is current RTSP sequence number plus 1, and we will again pass this method, and our request is sent as play. Same way for pause, and our state is playing, because for pause we need our state as playing. So, and then also we'll increment our sequence number y1. We'll pass this message to the request, and we'll keep track of the sent request. And similarly for the tear down, our request code should be tear down and our self state should be init. Okay, so this is the method. Now we want to receive RTSP reply. So for receiving RTSP reply, this is the method which is the reply which we got from the server. So reply which we have got from the server, if we get some reply, then we will decode it and store it. Okay, otherwise we will close the RTSP packet. Now this is the parse method, is generally to uh, decode the data which we have got from the server side. So this is the whole data and the working of that data. Thank you so much.